Hello everyone, my name is Madina, and I hope you all are doing well in such a period of pandemic. Well, COVID-19 has definitely transformed all aspects of our lives and had tremendous effects on many countries' economies, tourism, jobs, and diplomatic relations, etc. Especially it has a tremendous effect on education in Central Asian countries. For example, Uzbekistan was one of the countries where it was really hard to shift from face-to-face education to e-learning because of the urgent need to come up with a proper online teaching methods. And this is exactly what I'm going to talk about today. First, I'll brief you out about the COVID-19 situation in Uzbekistan, and then I'll tell you both positive and negative effects of COVID-19 on higher education in Uzbekistan. So let's get started. Like any other countries in the world, Uzbekistan had announced a massive lockdown the very day after the first coronavirus case was recorded on March 15th, 2020. Well, the government had encouraged its citizens to spend more time with their families, to stay at home, to self-isolate from other people, and to wear masks whenever they go out. To talk about the educational side in particular, well, all schools, universities were closed for 3 weeks, and students had a 3 week vacation, so to speak. And during this period, Ministry of Education came out with two different methods of teaching online for students at school and for students at universities. So they had pre-recorded almost 5,000 videos to be aired on national TV channels for preschool children and for secondary school education. And they started online classes for university students by organizing Zoom meetings, by allowing the students to submit individual tasks via email to professors, and etc., which had both positive and negative effects on students' performance, academic performance, which I'm going to talk about further. Let me begin with positive effects of online learning on university students. Firstly, students were able to improve their time management. Because the Zoom meetings were not mandatory to attend all the time, students were able to create their own schedules, go to their own deadlines, own time, and own plan. Secondly, they became more independent and more responsible because they had to do more individual based tasks without any help and submitted on time to their professors. Thirdly, it helped students to save both their time and money. Well, usually students who live far away from the universities, they spend most of their time, like 1 to 2 hours, on traveling from to university, which was really inconvenient for them all the time because they spend most of their money on transportation than other expenses. Therefore, many students were happy to study online because they could save both their time and money at the same time. Despite all those benefits, students have suffered a lot from challenges during e-learning. One of the main challenges was insufficient access to internet. Well, according to the fact, only 1/3 of Uzbekistan population has access to internet. And even if they do have access to internet, the internet is usually unstable, and not many people, not many families have Wi-Fi connection, and that's why they have to buy mobile data on their phones, which costs a lot, a lot. Furthermore, there was a problem with electricity connection. 50% of a population live in rural areas. That's why, and in those rural areas, students who come from those areas had problems with electricity because they had no electricity at all for weeks, which made it even harder for them to study online. Another major difficulty that students had suffered from was digital illiteracy of professors. When I had this personal interview with one of the students of National University of Uzbekistan, she told that many professors in local universities had didn't have necessary skills, necessary digital skills. They didn't know how to use computers. They didn't know how to use any technological devices, etc. Because their age was old enough to know those stuff. And furthermore, they kind of didn't use any visual aids, any PPTs, or that would any pictures that would help students to understand the material, the learning material better. That's why it was really boring for students to see it, in Zoom meetings and to do nothing at all. And they also complained about the about cheating problems because usually professors gave them mostly written home assignments as their exams, both midterm and final exams, which made it easier for students to copy from each other, copy from their textbooks or from internet, and submit it in any time they want. That's why many students complained about that a lot. It was also really hard for school graduates from other regions like Andijan, Bukhara, Hiva, and etc. Those who wanted to study in Tashkent universities, they couldn't even apply to Tashkent universities in 2020 because of all those travel restrictions throughout the country. That's why they decided to stay at home this year and to prepare for the exams better to apply for Tashkent universities next year. As you can see, government had failed to consider the poor conditions of its citizens in terms of access to internet, the electricity connection, and the digital literacy of the professors. That's why many students had suffered from e-learning and were unable to get proper education at that time. Well, fortunately, there are two possible measures that should be taken by the government to improve the learning experience of current and future students. Number one would be the fact that government has to introduce affordable prices for mobile data because students do not use Wi-Fi. That's why they use mobile data as their main source to internet connection, which is on their phone. That's why they have to buy, which costs a lot. That's why government has to make affordable prices for them, for specifically for students, in order them to attend Zoom meetings, to download the videos, which actually costs a lot. Secondly, the government has to make sure that the electricity connection is good in rural parts of Uzbekistan. Well, many students come from rural parts of Uzbekistan and they do not have electricity connection. That's why they cannot even study at all. That's why government has to make sure that they do have electricity connection, especially for students who reside in those areas. The quality of education of learning has to be improved too. Well, professors in local universities could get more proper training to use the computers, to use other technological devices, and in addition to that, the universities can encourage the professors who are older age to attend more programs like workshops and seminars to get more innovative ideas about improving the situation of the e-learning, and they could also think about the creating of a new online curriculum so that it would be both convenient for them and for the future students. Coming to the end of my speech, I want to tell that yes, it's true that COVID-19 situation is still uncertain, and we don't know even when we're going back to offline education. Therefore, I think Uzbekistan has to do its best to provide better quality education for its students by making the prices for mobile data more affordable, by providing better electricity connection, and of course by providing better training for professors' digital literacy. If these problems are solved, I'm sure that Uzbek students, like any other student in the world, can take advantage of all the opportunities that e-learning can give. Thank you.